My name is Halcyon. This is Hug Nation. Welcome. Today I want to talk about breath. Now, I don't know about you, but over the course of my years, I have heard over and over again through meditation and other times, focus on your breath, focus on your breath, focus on your breath. To the point that I started to realize I don't really know what I'm focusing on. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time today to just ponder some aspects of breath that make it worthy of our focus. The first is that breath is the perfect focusing tool for mindfulness because it is happening in the now. Anything else that you might be doing, any process that might be happening, is probably linked to some story or thought, some narrative of your life, but your breath is right now. And so by continuing to return to a focus on your breath, you can continually bring yourself back to mindfulness. If you, I need to remember to drop off that, my breath goes in, my breath goes out. I was in thought and story, I'm back to presence, observation, mindfulness. And you can keep tuning into all aspects of breath and make that a tool for the mindfulness. You can just tune into the sensations of your chest or belly expanding. You can notice fabric gently moving as you are inhaling and exhaling. You can focus on the sensation of breath in your nostrils. It's like this tool that you have with you at all times that you cannot bring it out of the present moment. You cannot breathe in the past. You cannot breathe in the future. So if you are focusing on breath, it is happening now. The second reason that breath is significant and what makes breath such a beautiful thing to focus on is that breathing is one of the few processes that is automatic that you also have conscious control over. So I can focus on my breath, inhale, hold it, exhale, or I can forget about it and I will continue to breathe. I will have the exact right amount of breath to oxygenate my blood 24 hours a day, whether I'm waking or sleeping, whether I'm running or passed out. That is taken care of. So the fact that we also have conscious control of it puts it in this unique place. There's not much that is automatically controlled by your body, by the natural cycles that you also can use your mind to alter and change. I could blink, but breath is so significant in the functioning of your whole body. And I think that having an example of something that you can control and not control, it allows you to start pondering, well, wait a minute, then what parts of the processes of my body is me? We often think that, who you are is the thoughts that you have, this conscious, the impact that you have on the world. But if you are just breathing and being breathed, is that you as well? Because when you relax and sit in the moment, you breathe in the same way that the tide goes in and out, or waves crash, or rain falls, or evaporation occurs. These processes that are just part of the natural functioning of the world. So if a part of who I am is totally governed by these same principles of just non-thought doing, how am I that much different than these natural processes in the world? How am I that much different than the tides? How am I not just like this awareness sitting on top of this absolutely natural, cyclical, functioning, patterned process, just like every other natural process? We tend to put so much weight on our conscious mind that we lose sight of how much of who we are is not controlled by our conscious mind. In fact, everything about our body that is required to keep us alive is outside of our control. Everything inside our skin, all of it, the bile ducts, the circulatory system, the spleen, my liver, that all works awesome, and I have no idea what it's doing. I have a teeny tiny control over it based on biofeedback. I can lower my heart rate, and by eating right, and by believing and thinking positively, I can heal myself better. But really, the I of my conscious mind does not have a seat at the table in the governing of my physical body. When you focus on breath, you are kind of given token control, almost like a student driver car. When you breathe and you think about it, the teacher, the master, your body that is all perfect and controlled and in alignment with the universe says, all right, sure, why don't you steer? And you're like, but the body's got their own brake and their own steering wheel, and they're like, you cannot crash the car. We have control of the function of the body in the same way that a gardener has control over a tomato plant. A gardener doesn't have to understand the engineering of the seed for it to sprout. The gardener doesn't have to understand and force the chlorophyll to photosynthesize. It just needs to present it and put together the materials and the circumstances of soil, water, sun. And the plant, its nature is to do all those things. It is our nature to do all those things. We simply need to get some food into us, a little bit of water, and allow ourselves to sleep. And that's it. We bloom. In fact, it's amazing how powerful our body processes are, even if we mistreat it. We filter so much crap from our system. Have you ever eaten at Taco Bell at 4 a.m.? It's a pretty effective machine that we've got here. The third way that breath is a beautiful tool to put your focus on is that it helps to break out of some of the limited definitions of who you are. It becomes very easy to slip into a belief that who you are is the solid physical mass of your body. And what is inside of your skin is you, and what is outside of your skin is the universe. But that gets really confusing when you start to realize how in flux the body is. We are constantly losing dead cells and creating new cells. We have an influx of food and excretion. We are sweating. We are housing all sorts of bacteria that we require to be alive. So which of that is us? And what about breath? When does that breath become us? When does that oxygen molecule suddenly go from being the universe to being part of our bloodstream, and now therefore us? Is that when it becomes us, when it enters our bloodstream? So is breath something that is outside of us until it is inside of us, or is it more like an umbilical cord that connects us to a part of ourselves that we require to live? You could live without a foot, you could live without your eyes, but you cannot live without the air around you. It is critical for your survival. And yet we do not typically consider it a part of who we are. You cannot live more than a few minutes without that. Just because it isn't a solid part of our body doesn't mean it's not a part of who you are. And if you start to think in those terms, that I am not defined by the border of my skin, I am actually defined by this pattern this flow, then how can it stop just at that air? Because that air cannot exist without the presence of flora and plants. And those plants cannot exist, and those plants cannot exist. And suddenly you realize the entire biosphere of the earth is all interconnected. And anywhere that I draw the line around who I am is arbitrary. And if you can fall into that awareness, that who you are is intimately connected to the entire world and therefore the universe, it can shift the way you make decisions. How can you pollute a river when you know that it is connected to you? It'd be like stabbing yourself in the leg. It's a form of self-harm. It's like mental illness to pollute when you are aware of your connection to all things. Alan Watts said that who we are is actually much more like a whirlpool than an actual physical object. That if you go to a river every day to the same spot, you will see an area that looks the same. But in reality, it is simply a pattern. That there is different water flowing through it constantly. But what we identify is the pattern of these molecules, the pattern. And we too are a pattern like that. And just like you can't, put a bucket and grab the whirlpool, you can't put a bag around us and separate us from the universe. For me, revisiting the processes of breath and the reasons why breath is so significant has really helped me in my meditations to make it more focused, more mind-blowing, more connecting. Because all of these ideas, they bring you into the present moment. Let me say that in a different way. Sorry. Dun, dun, dun. So breath brings you into the present moment. It expands the definition of who you are beyond your conscious thoughts. And it expands who you are beyond the limitations of your physical body. It connects you to the universe. It connects you to the flow of nature. And it connects you to this present moment. Now I know why everyone keeps saying, focus on your breath. Focus on your breath. Thank you. I love you.